So, as you are all aware, if you're wrestling fans, and I'm assuming you are if you're listening to this, Sasha Banks has walked out of the WWE as of either WrestleMania or Raw, depending on what report you're listening to. Apparently, she has had enough with no creative direction, being asked not to just to job, but to job at the last minute after being promised a long, lengthy run with those tag titles. And then, on top of that, oh, by the way, we're breaking you and Bayley up so you can't even travel together on the road. I mean, we can get into whether those particular ideas have any merit. I think we'll do that before I get fully into my rant. But what do you guys think about just that? And I'll see if I can change your minds if you're against it, by the way.
I'm not really against it because, like we said in the WrestleMania one, or at least I said, a long title run will establish the titles and will establish them as a hardworking team. They lost them in what, 3-4 weeks?
46 days.
So 6 weeks.
What kind of title run is that? Come on.
Vince Russo title run.
The longest of Sasha Banks' career. Oh, well, WWE main roster career.
Okay.
The look on my face.
Yeah, like that just literally sums up this whole situation. It just... The title run makes the champion. It's just if it's a title run that's literally around the block instead of a whole 5K, then what is the champion?
One successful title defense against Nia Jax and Tamina at Fastlane.
Are you kidding me?
That's the only successful title defense.
How many title reigns?
For Sasha Banks?
Yes.
We will get into that. That is the only successful title defense, by the way, in her entire main roster career. Not just of the tag titles, of her entire main roster career.
So wait, they never defended them, but the tag titles after they won them until they dropped them at Mania?
They did at Fastlane.
Yeah,
to Nia Jax and Tamina.
Oh yeah, I forget.
That was the only one.
I thought you were talking about a 3-way. I didn't even think about the tag.
Oh yeah, no, sorry, Sasha and Bayley versus Nia Jax and Tamina. So I'm gonna start this off. We're gonna do a little introduction of why am I a Sasha Banks fan? Because it's established both in this program and to anybody who knows me that I've been a fan of hers for quite some time. How did I become that way? Well, the short answer is 2015 NXT. I watched NXT in 2014. I honestly did not care for her work. She was a lackey to Charlotte and Summer Rae. It was not great. She wasn't really doing a lot of wrestling. She was more kind of like their extra, their lackey. But starting in 2015, she had just failed in a NXT Women's Title Challenge against Charlotte. Then she comes out, wrestles Charlotte, and loses again in early 2015. But that sets up the fatal 4-way that everybody talks about of Charlotte versus Sasha Banks versus Becky Lynch versus Bayley. 4 horsewomen, fatal 4-way at TakeOver. Sasha Banks comes out with the win. Goes on, has a very, very amazing title defense, in my opinion, against Becky Lynch at the next TakeOver. Then the 2 matches that everybody talks about with Sasha Banks, which is the match at Brooklyn, the that TakeOver Brooklyn match against Bayley. Bayley wins the title, and then the comeback match to that, where Sasha gets the rematch? Yeah, the rematch, and she goes in the 30-minute Iron One match, first ever WWE Network live event, main event for women. Sasha Banks, Bayley again. Those matches, by the way, Meltzer ratings, 4 stars for the 4-way, 4 stars for Becky Lynch and Sasha, 4.5 for the first Bayley Sasha, 4.5 for the second Bayley Sasha. Wow.
And that's not even in Japan.
Yes.
Right.
And that is over the course of 7 months. No woman in the WWE has ever had that many 4-star matches in that short of a time to this day. That is the best run for 6-7 months in the history. And the fans agree. So, to PWI, Pro Wrestling Illustrated, this is fan voting. Match of the year was the Iron Woman match, Sasha Bayley. That's the match of the year. Not women's match of the year, match of the year. And the woman of the year, Sasha Banks. Wow. That profile reads, cannot miss megastar.
Right.
Male or female. You get any recognition no matter who you are. Should be a great honor.
At this point in time, she was 23 years old. So much potential is what we're thinking. Well, this is where that wonderful train kind of goes off the tracks. The WWE main roster debut. I'm going to introduce this, and I actually want your guys' thoughts on this because I'm going to try and jog your memory here. So, the segment starts off with Paige confronting the Bellas and Alicia Fox. She had been hounded.
That's who the other three were.
So they had been hounding Paige for weeks, preventing her from winning Nikki Bella's Divas Championship. So, yeah. Stephanie McMahon. It would have been more interesting than Shane McMahon come out.
Right, yeah, agreed.
He is the best in the world.
He is the best.
Didn't
That's right.
specify male or female.
Stephanie comes out and says, by the way, Paige, I've got some backup for you. Because, Paige doesn't have friends of her own. She can't just say, hey, I found these friends down in NXT where I wrestled for 3 years. No, Stephanie has to arbitrarily give her Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch as her friends. Just because. So, then, interrupting that is Naomi and Tamina. They come out and say, well, what about us? You've given Paige some backup. What about us? Well, Stephanie's like, well, you know what? I've got a friend for you, too. Here's NXT Women's Champion Sasha Banks, who comes out, gets great reaction. Even though this segment has already gone on far too long, and they're all randomly assigned. So we have Team PCB, wow, Paige, Charlotte, Becky, so original. Team Bella, and then Team Colored People. It's actually Team Bad, but literally, let's throw all of the non-white women onto the same team here.
Brother.
I guess Alicia Fox doesn't count because she had blonde hair, but otherwise she'd ended up in Team Bad too.
That's how Vince keeps.
Yes,
TV.
This is not me speaking, by the way. This is Vince McMahon speaking. So yeah, what are your guys' thoughts? How does this rate as a debut? Is this up on the lengths of Kevin Owens' debut?
Bret Hart has not passed 4 out of 10.
Yeah, exactly, 4 out of 10.
Does this compare to the recent debut of Ricochet, Aleister Black, Johnny Gargano, and Tommaso Ciampa, where they were just, hey, here's these NXT guys?
Same with Viking, same with Kairi Sane.
But and even Kairi Sane was randomly assigned, here, you're partners with Asuka because you're Japanese. You have no storyline reason to be friends. You're just both Japanese. You speak the same language, you're teammates. Because, they don't have any other woman that makes sense to tag with Kairi Sane, right? No. There's nothing called the Sky Pirates. By the way, the people that Sasha and Bayley were supposed to feud with in NXT, but that got canceled. Because nobody would have wanted to see that great match.
Nope.
So,
not at all.
The next 6 months of Sasha Banks' run are being with Tamina and Naomi and having matches with mostly Paige. And they were fine, but they were clearly, Team Bad was the team that was not featured out of the 3 teams. It was all about Nikki Bella and Charlotte Flair. It just was. That was the entire focus of that whole 9-person triple threat feud. So you get to Royal Rumble, which is now when Nikki Bella is taking the back seat. She's lost the title to Charlotte. Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch. Sasha Banks comes out and interferes, not really given a reason why. Just she interferes. No contest, and that eventually sets up WrestleMania 32. You have Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair with Ric Flair, Sasha Banks with Snoop Dogg. Now, this is a star-making moment. You have this person, she has recently turned babyface, and has her very famous relative giving her an introduction to the ring, special entrance, and they decide, no, it's okay. We'll have a man interfere in this very high-profile women's match just to poo-poo on it so Charlotte can hold the belt longer. If you don't remember, Becky Lynch was put in the figure 8. Sasha goes to break it up. Ric Flair holds her legs down so she can't break it up, and Becky Lynch taps. Yeah, it was a great match, too. It was a very, very good match up until that point. Also, by the way, rated 4 stars. By Meltzer. I'm not a huge Meltzer fan, but it is a good metric to use when you're trying to compare people, especially if they're not Japanese. just saying. So,
it'd been 8 stars.
Yeah.
Tokyo.
So at this point, you have Sasha, who has a legitimate grievance against Charlotte Flair, right? right? You guys agree with that?
Right.
Sets up
yeah.
a solo one-on-one feud. You do it at Backlash, Money in the Bank, whatever the next 38.
Backlash, right?
Next 38 pay-per-views, whatever's next.
What do you think they actually did? I don't know if you remember. What do you think they actually did with Sasha after WrestleMania 32?
Sunday Night Heat.
Worse.
I don't remember. I think they just like.
She was not on TV at all for almost 3 months. And me, being a jabroni, went to Raw, the brand that, well, it wasn't a brand split yet, but where we expected to see her, to a chorus of, "We want Sasha. We want Sasha." Guess who didn't come out?
Was this a Raw in Detroit?
Detroit, Michigan, at the Joe Louis Arena. R.I.P. Yeah, she just disappeared for almost 3 months. Just completely off. No injury. They just didn't know what to do with her, and they wanted Charlotte to keep the belt. So they didn't want to job her out yet. They didn't want her to win. So, yeah. And then we get on Raw in July. So about 4 months later, 3.5, 4 months later, she beats Charlotte for the Raw Women's title. Great, right? On Raw? On Raw? It was the main event of Raw, so that's something.
Right.
It would be
was
great,
it not?
she comes back from injury, wins it at Raw. Okay, got no real problem with that.
Yeah. So now, next week, you have your babyface champion, triumphant, and she comes out for a segment. What would you do if you were a babyface champion, just one?
High five in the crowd, celebrate,
Yeah.
cut a great white meat babyface promo.
Would you hint that you were going to retire at the ripe old age of 24?
Oh man, it's
You'd
coming
You'd forgotten
back.
about this promo,
I
hadn't
Yes,
did.
I did.
And
Oh boy.
this is one thing where I do have to put some of the blame on Sasha as a performer, because yes, this promo was poorly delivered on top of being poorly conceived and poorly written. But how the crowd did not take it seriously from the very beginning, because they knew she wasn't injured. This wasn't like a situation where, oh, it's an aging veteran, maybe this is the time they actually retire. So the crowd was dead. The promo went way too long. It didn't work. And that really, that hampered her momentum right then and there. So then you get into the next pay-per-view. First title defense. Loss. Charlotte gets the title back. Okay.
Hot potato time.
Yep. Couple
Yep,
weeks
hot
later.
potato time. I
Couple weeks
remember
later.
this.
On Raw. Sasha wins the title back. Yay! Cool. Next pay-per-view, which I believe was SummerSlam at this point. Charlotte wins. Awesome. So then, Sasha wins the belt back again on Raw.
At least it's on Raw, not main event.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
she
I
wins again
guess.
on Raw. So this is now her third championship. Goes into Hell in a Cell. The first ever
Oh boy.
women's main event. In her hometown of Boston, Massachusetts. And what would you do in this situation other than have her obviously lose to Charlotte Flair?
In one of the worst table spots that was doomed from the beginning, inside of the Hell in a Cell.
Yes, so let's try and throw a 130-pound woman, that's probably about right, 130-pound woman from the mat through a table, not even off the top rope, from the mat through a table. Oh wait, she's 130 pounds. She bounces off. Surprising. Picks her up again. Charlotte throws her again, tried it through the table. And by the way, not even with a power move where you can use Charlotte's weight too to break the table. Nope, just Sasha. And she slides off the table again because, once again, 130 pounds, not even landing directly on the table. That's how she was thrown.
Didn't they like do the side of the ring spot, corner of the ring,
Yes,
and
it was in the corner of the ring the second time. Yes.
I think there's a theme here. Charlotte plus tables equals no.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
By the way, we
yeah.
had another table spot recently at WrestleMania 35. But I want to point out that so this match, they do the two failed table spots. Charlotte does her secondary finish, natural selection, and pins Sasha 1, 2, 3. They get to the backstage. What does Vince do? Great match, great main event. No, Sasha, this is your fault
Bruh.
because she didn't break the table by, propelling her own body through the table. I don't know what he expected. Yeah, he thought the finish was bad, which, by the way, it was bad. It was bad because the wrong person won. This is the moment in her hometown, babyface, defending the title, first ever women's main event. You have the babyface go over clean. This is not rocket science. We learned this at WrestleMania 35. Even if the finish isn't great, if the right person wins, everybody goes home happy.
But doesn't Vince always rib people in their hometowns?
Yes.
You don't win in your
Yes.
hometown. Booker
Yes.
T in Houston, so on. So
Right.
That's probably John Cena in Boston.
Yeah.
Except for Backlash 03. But that was Worcester, so that doesn't count.
Yeah. And he came out as a heel. So he wasn't even a babyface. But, I mean, this should have been such a historic moment. And now it's something that they really skip over when they talk about the women's revolution. They don't talk about this because the finish was such a dud. So then they go on to another match at Roadblock. Now this match, if Sasha Banks loses, she is no longer allowed to challenge Charlotte Flair for the title until she loses it. And it is a 30-minute Iron Woman match. Charlotte wins again. So at this point, if you're adding it up, Sasha Banks has lost 4 consecutive pay-per-view matches. Actually, 5 if you count WrestleMania, because she didn't technically take the fall, but she did lose. 5 consecutive pay-per-view losses to Charlotte Flair. Wow. That's how you get a top babyface over, right? The heel consistently comes out on top. That's
Clean, too. Basically clean.
Most of the time clean. Especially the last couple matches. Yeah. So, now, at this point, you'd be thinking, well, Sasha's going to try and screw over Charlotte whenever she faces anybody else for the title, right? Yeah, that would make sense. No, she just kind of disappears. She goes away. Bayley comes up. Cool.
All right.
So Bayley now is kind of put in that role of challenger. And now this is now 2.5, almost 3 months later. Sasha Banks does interfere, costing Bayley the match, of course, at Royal Rumble. So now you have another match at whatever the February pay-per-view is. I'm sorry.
Elimination Chamber?
It may have been Elimination Chamber. It may have been, actually, I believe it was Fastlane. So Fastlane, Bayley versus Charlotte. Charlotte is undefeated on pay-per-view at this point. 1 month before WrestleMania. Bayley wins. Why? And I'm not trying to bash Bayley here, but you don't have her win at Fastlane. You have her win at WrestleMania.
Which
to
was
beat the pay-per-view streak.
Levi Stadium, and where's she from? Like San Jose.
San Jose,
area?
hour and a half away. Well, in California traffic, 5 hours away, but
2 miles down the road.
Yes.
For being specific.
So, wow. Okay, that's cool. Now Bayley has the title. Charlotte's getting ready to go off to SmackDown. They wrap that feud up. So you have Sasha Banks and Bayley, 2 4.5-star singles matches on NXT. Sasha has every reason in the world to be super jealous of the babyface champion Bayley. They're going to turn, right? They're going to turn heel. Going to light Sasha back on fire as a heel the way she got over originally. No. What's going to happen is Alexa Bliss is going to come over from SmackDown to Raw, and she's going to beat the living tar out of Bayley with no comeback, bury her in every promo segment, and just neuter Bayley. Bayley's dead on arrival, and she's still dead in 2019 because of this feud. Bayley's dead, and Sasha is just there. She's wrestling Nia Jax. She's doing just pre-show pay-per-view matches. Nothing. She's not even involved. Until SummerSlam 17. Alexa Bliss, Sasha Banks, one-on-one for the title. And now that we're talking about Alexa Bliss, I want to bring up one other recipe in this one other little bit of this stew of burying Sasha Banks. That's Corey Graves.
Oh.
Corey Graves, even as a heel to a babyface, has gone consistently out of his way to bury Sasha Banks at every single chance that he gets. Even the analogies I could take to this is Bobby Heenan and Hulk Hogan. Bobby Heenan would trash Hulk Hogan on commentary, but 2 things. Hulk Hogan was, 1, untouchable in the late 80s, so nothing Bobby Heenan could say would hurt him.
Right.
And 2, Bobby Heenan was an established liar. He lied.
That was his gimmick.
When he said something about Hulk Hogan, it was almost demonstrably untrue. Hogan would punch somebody and say, "Oh, that was a rake to the eyes." No, it wasn't. We saw it. It wasn't. You're making it up.
That, and also, he managed Paul Orndorff, who had a world title shot.
Against
John
Hogan.
Studd, King Kong Bundy, so on.
Andre the
so
Giant.
on. So there's established hate. My guys can't
Right,
beat Hulk
an
Hogan
established
until
hate
Bash
relation.
at the Beach.
Yeah.
What was the only time Heenan was right.
Yes. And I don't blame Heenan, by the way, for that commentary. That made perfect sense for Bobby Heenan to say that.
Yes.
Right.
So can you guys think of any other time where a heel announcer has literally just killed a babyface dead?
No.
Lawler never even really did that.
Yeah.
Maybe Lawler Brett.
He was just witty,
Maybe.
but never really.
But even then, Brett
Shot
could
out.
get comeuppance on Lawler by beating him in the ring.
Or Isaac Yankem.
Or Isaac Yankem. Yes, his personal tennis.
Yeah.
But Sasha Banks can't attack Corey Graves.
No.
She doesn't get a comeback. She doesn't get to go on commentary and say, why are you lying about me? She's never confronted him on camera about it. I mean, why Vince allows this to happen, I don't know. Other than the fact that he wants to purposely cool off Sasha Banks. Which this booking seems to illustrate that's exactly what he wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
So SummerSlam 17, Alexa Bliss, Sasha Banks. Sasha wins, which as a fan, I did not even expect. I was literally not even interested in this match because I thought Alexa Lesnar was going to go over strong. Okay, so Sasha wins the title. They come out the next night on Raw. They have a segment, and Alexa Bliss says, you can't defend your title. I know it, and I guarantee it. Next week, I'm invoking my rematch clause on Raw, and I'm going to beat you because you can't defend your title. Okay, we've seen this actually happen before in wrestling, where a heel would say, you can't defend your title to the babyface. Every other time that ever happens, the babyface wins.
Because heels are liars.
Heels
Right,
should be lying,
right.
and they should be established as liars. What happens? Alexa Bliss goes over clean, 1, 2, 3, middle of the ring. 8-day title reign. 8 days. So, we have now gotten to 4 title reigns for Sasha Banks on Monday Night Raw.
In a year and a half.
Yes. 8 days. 20 days. 27 days. 27 days. Not counting Becky Lynch's current title reign right now that just started, those are the 4 shortest reigns in the history of the WWE Raw Women's title.
And that's not even a 3-month reign.
Right.
With 0 successful title defenses. So, maybe she's going to get something down the road. Nope. She's split up from them, goes off, does basically nothing from this point on. I literally wrote in my notes, mid-card hell.
Yeah. Not even going to fresh her up. Go to SmackDown.
Right.
Get her away from Alexa Bliss, who, by the way, she hates personally on a very Brett Shawn level, and they keep them together on the same show for now 2 years. And honestly, I couldn't even tell you what happened from that point at the end of 2017 through to the beginning of 2019 because nothing happened. What happened? She would team up with Bayley. Then they would tease that, oh, maybe they're going to turn, maybe they're going to turn, maybe nope. They're going to team up again. They're friends again. Okay. Oh, wait, she's going to wrestle Asuka? Is it going to be a decent match? Nope. Asuka's going to win clean. And by the way, go tap out Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania because let's not have great storytelling and not have, baby faces defeat the unconquerable undefeated streak. Whatever. That's a whole different rant for Charlotte, which I will do it someday. So now you have this Bayley Sasha tag team against the Riot Squad. Wait, maybe they're going to break up? Oh, no. Tag team against Riot Squad. Maybe they're going to break up? No. They're going to go to therapy. And they're going to come back and they're going to be best friends. Okay. Now they start getting a couple of decent wins as a tag team. They're doing all right. And then, for seemingly no reason, lizard person Ronda Rousey says, Sasha Banks is the best wrestler in this company and I want to wrestle her at the Royal Rumble. Okay. That actually has some intrigue. The champion says that someone else is the best wrestler and they want to wrestle them. Cool.
Prove themselves worthy of holding the title.
Right.
So, just to make it legit, Sasha beats Nia Jax for the #1 contendership at the Royal Rumble. They come out, they have actually a pretty good match.
I liked it.
My personal favorite Ronda Rousey match, I think some other people might put the Charlotte match or even one of the heavily scripted, the WrestleMania match or the Alexa Bliss match or the Nia Jax match.
The TLC Nia I enjoyed. But that's...
Yeah. So
another day.
Yeah, but this was a really good match, and especially by Ronda Rousey standards, especially when this one wasn't one of those, we scripted this out 4 weeks in advance type of things. So Sasha loses by pinfall, too, which was, I believe, the first pinfall victory of Ronda Rousey's career, not a tap out. So that's interesting in and of itself also. But how do you capitalize on that momentum? You don't. You just don't. Bayley loses the next week on Raw to Ronda Rousey, and then they are just kind of shuffled off into whatever. I believe they were feuding now with Nia Jax and Tamina.
Right.
Cool. That's a feud everybody wants to see. We've never seen these four people wrestle ever, except the entire last year on Raw. So they actually then throw them a bone. We're gonna get the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. And this is kind of intriguing too.
Right.
I don't think many of us were sure what to expect, but they have the Elimination Chamber match, which was pretty solid. Sasha and Bayley go over, and actually pretty strong. They entered number one and actually won the whole thing. And then you get on to Fastlane. Nia Jax and Tamina versus Sasha and Bayley. Bayley pins Tamina. So even in the one successful title defense in Sasha Banks' entire main roster career, she didn't get the pin. Bayley did. You go on to WrestleMania 35. The night of... Actually, I'm sorry. At this point, I should break away. At this point, they teased that Sasha Banks and Bayley would defend the titles anywhere. Raw, SmackDown, NXT, NXT UK. They didn't care. They were taking on all challengers. They strongly hinted that we were going to get Kairi Sane and Io Shirai versus Sasha and Bayley in a match everybody really wanted to see.
Yeah, that would have been a good match.
And that puts you over as baby faces anywhere, anytime.
Yep.
Right.
So, then they go to SmackDown, say, hey, anytime, anywhere, anybody. Okay, they face the Iconics in a match, and the Iconics win. Clean. Okay.
Non-title, though. They never said they would defend the titles. They just said they would wrestle.
Yeah.
Or entertainment. Can't say wrestle.
Yeah. They entertainmented for the titles.
Yeah. The WWE'd.
Yes. Okay. So you're thinking, well, okay, the Iconics got the SmackDown match, so that means 50-50 booking. Sasha and Bayley win at WrestleMania, right? That's what happened, right? That's totally what
I wish
happened.
I could give you the answer you're looking for.
That's not what happened. In a match that probably shouldn't even have involved Nia Jax, Tamina, and the Iconics. The Iconics win. A comedy heel tag team wins at WrestleMania. And has really done nothing with the titles in the 3 or 4 weeks since then.
Haven't they lost like twice on
They've lost every match since then. They have, other than the one they brought in random jobbers and beat them.
Yeah. So they're getting the Wade Barrett. That's the IC title.
Yeah.
Basically, is what the women's tag team title is. You hold that, you lose.
And way to establish the credibility of this title, dropping into a heel comedy tag team right away.
That's lost right away.
And at the same time, Sasha and Bayley were told they were dropping the titles shortly before Mania went on the air. Very professional, Vince. And they were also told at the same time, by the way, we're splitting you two up. You're not going to be on the same roster following the superstar shakeup, copyright, TM, registered, trademark, whatever. Yeah. So Sasha Banks basically says, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And as you've listened to me say for this past however long, look at what they have done to a can't-miss prospect who had some of the best women, not only best women's matches, but best matches in the WWE in the last 5 years. And they have completely just ruined any chance she had of being a major superstar. It's to her credit that she is still a top 4 merchandise seller for women in the company right now. I mean, while getting no coherent push. By the way, Alexa Bliss held the title until her injury for 64% of the days she was on the main roster, beating almost everybody clean as a heel and the smallest person on the roster. Because, Vince would just go ahead and put over, who's the chin guy?
James
Ellsworth. James Ellsworth beats Brock Lesnar clean in the middle of the ring as the champion and holds it for 2/3 of the time he's on the main roster, right? That makes sense, right?
Yeah, Jack Gallagher versus The Big Show.
Yeah, let's even say, let's even make this somebody who actually has charisma but is a smaller guy. Finn Balor is totally dominated, right? He beat Brock Lesnar clean. He beat Roman Reigns clean. He beat Seth Rollins clean, right? Right? Oh, no.
No, he just lost to Andrade. And
he had a one-day title reign.
And then they switched brands after he lost to Andrade?
Yep.
And then did he lose it? I don't care.
No, he has the IC title, but
so that's automatic losing.
Yeah, so he's just gonna keep losing
Right.
from here on out.
I think that's foreshadowing his reign.
So that's where we stand today. Sasha Banks has left the WWE. She's not reporting to work. WWE says take a break and come back. The signals seem to be that she is not coming back. She does not want to come back. I'm going to ask you guys to do a little conjecture here for a moment. What do you think happens in the next, say, 3 months?
I want to say the inner mark in me wants to say AEW, but with them saying go take a break on the contractual clause being that
Independent contractor.
Right. She will not be able to do so one way or another. I am not a lawyer, but I can say that with all
Nobody's
faithfulness.
challenged this, by the way, in court. The only people that tried were Raven, the Blue Meanie, and Mike Sanders, and they had their suit tossed out not because of the content of the suit, but because they had passed the statute of limitations. So it's never really been tried. I would like to point that out.
Okay, yeah, good point. Like I said, I want to say AEW, but I think I don't want to say she's going to hang it up either, but the only really option I have to say is another promotion. Maybe she ends up in Impact, maybe, huge maybe, a heavy eye roll there. All signs point to AEW.
And by the way, I would also like to point out she has 2 years remaining on her contract with the WWE. She signed a 3-year deal in 2018.
So she can't get out. She's on the shelf for probably, and then they always have the no compete clause. So she'll be ice cold by the time she's released because it'll be like 3 years.
Yeah.
And I really like, who's Sasha Banks or whatever Impact Zone?
Remember when?
Who's Basha Shanks doing in the Impact Zone?
Snoop Dogg's cousin.
Yeah.
But she, honestly, she should have been heel from the start. She's got that natural, cocky charisma. You play off the Snoop Dogg thing. Just be like, oh, I have a famous relative and you don't. Something like that. Not like anybody around this table would have that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, nobody has a famous relative at this table.
No.
So, when I'm looking at this, you've got a couple of possibilities. One is that she stays just as stubborn as Vince McMahon and says, I'm not coming back. I'm not coming back. No matter what you say, I'm not coming back.
Good for her. And
she waits 2 years and 3 months or whatever, however long it works out to. And now 2021 AEW, which would still be a big deal because we've had people go on the shelf for 2 or 3 years. When they come back, it's a big deal.
Shawn Michaels,
yeah.
Exactly.
So that could be.
But is AEW even going to be a thing in 2 or 3? You don't even know what
they've got enough startup money. They're going to last a while.
You just don't know what the landscape of wrestling is going to be.
They got Jericho. Years. They're going to be there for a minute.
Yeah. So you've got that. The other option is whatever false promises, and they are false promises. They are not going to tell her, oh, we'll do this for you, and then actually do it because that's been her entire career. Whatever they say, oh, you can win Money in the Bank and you'll be champion. Okay, I'll come back. And then as soon as she comes back, maybe she gets one. Maybe she does win Money in the Bank. Then she goes cash in and gets Damian Sandow.
Kennedy.
Yeah, anybody who tries to get over on their own.
Zack Ryder.
Zack Ryder, yeah. Mm-hmm. They're going to get just, the shovel treatment. There's that. And then there is the more controversial, more risky option of, you know what? I am an independent contractor. If I violate this contract, what are you going to do, Vince McMahon? Are you going to take me to court over this? Because if the WWE has a lawsuit and they lose the independent contractor status, they now have to pay health care. They now have to pay travel expenses, hotels, rental cars, flights, everything for everybody because they would be considered employees and not independent contractors.
Right.
That's tens of millions of dollars every year. Does it come to that? I don't know. We're not lawyers here. I don't know what is in Sasha Banks' head. I don't know what kind of funding she would have, whether she's planning to do AEW, because if she's been following AEW on Twitter for whatever that means, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, Cody. Does Khan say, hey, I want a staple person in my women's division. I'm willing to give X number of dollars for a legal defense for her to sue Vince McMahon. And because if they did that and succeeded, every disgruntled person that's in the WWE would be gone.
And there's a lot of them.
And there's a lot of them. Revival Young Bucks. There you go.
Or Gallows Anderson.
Yep. So
probably not.
Well, Gallows Anderson actually will be gone sooner than that anyway.
Probably.
They only have a couple months left, but so there's that possibility. I don't know if that can happen. I don't know if that's realistic, but that is a potential possibility. Before I wrap this up, I want to throw out some stats here because I've been doing some research. I'm going to start with a couple that I said before, but they need to be mentioned again. Sasha Banks has had 4 singles title runs in the main roster. They are the 4 shortest title reigns in the Raw Women's history. 0 successful title defenses on the main roster. How many pay-per-view matches do you think she has had one-on-one since SummerSlam 17 against Alexa Bliss? That would be roughly 18 months from. So about 20, 21 pay-per-views.
Almost a goose egg I'm going with.
Kev?
I have to say what he said.
1 against Ronda Rousey at the Royal Rumble 19.
Yeah.
That's the only singles pay-per-view match she has had in almost 18 months. About probably 20, 21 pay-per-views. 1. And it was a loss.
What else would it be?
So let's get into a little more opinion here. Sasha Banks has had 9 matches that were 4 stars or greater. So let's go through some of her peers. Becky Lynch has had 6 of them. Okay, it's pretty good. 4 of them were against Sasha Banks. Charlotte Flair has had 12 of them. That's pretty impressive. She's also had about 3 times as many pay-per-view matches as Sasha Banks has had. 6 of those, by the way, that Charlotte had were against Sasha Banks.
Mm-hmm.
This includes multi-matches, so you don't think I'm like, wow, how has Sasha had so many matches, including multi-person matches? Asuka has had 7, which is impressive. None against Sasha Banks. They only had 1 match against each other. It was on Raw. Sasha almost killed herself. Alexa Bliss, you would think, wow, she's got over 500 days with the title. She'd have some great matches, right? How many 4-star matches do you think Alexa Bliss has had in her entire run?
How many times she wrestled Sasha Banks?
Yeah.
This one, actually, her one was a multi-person match, of course. It was 1 4-star match. Yes, Sasha Banks was in that match, of course. But here's the even more damning stat to me. Alexa Bliss has had only 5 matches that were 3 stars or better. Wow.
How many of those were against Sasha Banks?
I believe another 2 of those. 2 more were actually her 2 Ronda Rousey matches. The 1 4-star, by the way, was the Money in the Bank ladder match that Alexa Bliss won.
I'm sensing a theme here.
Right.
Bayley, another peer, has had 5 4-star or greater matches. 3 of those against Sasha Banks. So, the women who have had quality matches, other than Asuka, who is a generational talent. I mean, I don't think anybody's disputing. Asuka may be the best women's in-ring worker in the world. I think Sasha's right at that level, maybe a little bit below. But other than that, every single person, their premier matches are against Sasha Banks. The WWE in 2018 did a list of the greatest women's matches in their company's history. Top 10. 6 of the top 10 featured Sasha Banks. All of the top 3 featured Sasha Banks.
Wow.
Alexa Bliss was featured in 0 of those. But she has had 500 in either 8 or 9 days as champion on the main roster. I rest my case. Sasha Banks has been treated like crap. She has been completely ruined. It seems like intentionally, because I don't know if you can intentionally cool somebody down more than they have done in the past 3.5 years that Sasha Banks has been on the main roster. I think it's negligence. I hope that she somehow gets away from the WWE. I am not very optimistic on that. I think the most likely scenario is they say they'll give her some sort of bone, which is, hey, you can win the title and then lose it in 8 days.
Give him that much credit.
I'll
with
do
8
you one
days.
better, pal. How about 16 days?
Yeah.
How about
You can
1 day?
You can win it on a house show and drop it on another house show, and we won't even count
Win it in a squash against Bob Backlund at a house show
Yes.
No,
in MSG.
not MSG. Minot, North Dakota, and you're gonna drop it in Walla Walla, Washington.
to Alexa Bliss.
Clean.
So, I honestly, I don't even know where to go from here, other than I think I've established this case pretty well. Whether you believe me or not, I think I've laid out a pretty strong argument for how she's been mistreated. Some people may not agree with walking out of the company. I honestly wish more wrestlers would do this. I think Vince needs to be pushed back against. He always says, I want them to grab the brass ring. I want them to really go for it. I want them to show passion. And when they do, they just get squashed.
Yeah, how many have tried to grab the brass ring? Cesaro, Zack Ryder,
Wade
Barrett, Sasha,
Razor, Ramon.
Mm-hmm.
All he did when he wanted to re-sign with the WWE in 1990 or WF in 1996 is he said, "Hey Vince, can you move that merchandise, that decimal point in my merchandise payout one spot, just one spot? Because that little bit doesn't mean a lot to the McMahon family. It means a lot to the Hall family." And Vince basically told him to eat it. I mean, so many people. We did our top 5 woulda, shoulda been world champions. Look at that list. A majority of those were Federation or Entertainment guys. So,
and some were going to get the world title. William Regal,
Owen Hart.
Hart.
Yeah, William Regal. I mean, he really was in the drug bust, but I mean, Owen would have been. He would have been a world champion.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
I mean,
on a higher note, where do you see her going to AEW one time or another, or where do you think she is going to go next?
I think no matter what happens, I don't think she signs another contract with the WWE.
Okay.
Whether she comes back on this one and finishes it, whether she just nevels and holds out until it's up, or whether she challenges it, I don't think she signs another contract with them. They would have to really, really, really turn around her booking in a major way to do that. I think no matter what happens, if she does not sign that contract, the second she's allowed to, she would be in AEW, assuming they are doing well and they are still looking to feature women prominently on their cards, which it seems like they are. Cody's been making all of the the right conversations in that gesture. We want women featured. Well, one of the best women's wrestlers in the world, really, really over, sells a ton of merch.
I know he doesn't want to bring in a lot of ex-Fed people, but that's going to bring some eyes. And Sasha's going to bring some eyes.
How many ex-Fed people would they have in their women's division? Basically 0.
Yeah, because
it'd be a very small list if they really
Allie, Britt Baker, I don't think they've ever wrestled in the Fed.
Nope. So this would be like that. You need that name, like you have a Cody Rhodes, a Chris Jericho, even a Kenny Omega who wasn't a Fed guy, but you have those name talents in your men's division. You need a name talent. And no disrespect to Allie or Britt Baker, because they are good wrestlers, but it's one thing being in Impact or ROH, and it's another thing being in the Fed. Millions of people have watched Sasha Banks on television. Millions of people have not watched Britt Baker or Allie.
Thousands of people.
Yes. Hundreds of tens of people.
Like, I just found out today, I didn't know Ring of Honor was in the Detroit market until today.
Yeah. Honestly, I didn't know that until you just said that just now.
2 a.m. on Saturday mornings.
What channel?
My TV Twin. Or whatever it is now.
Okay.
I just looked it up today.
Awesome. That's great news. I guess I will not watch that.
Yeah. Because
I may DVR it and check it out, but yeah.
I'll watch it every other week when I have to wake up for work. Yeah.
Sweet.
2 o'clock.
So, anybody have any closing thoughts on this segment? Anything we want to tease for next week? Does somebody have a rant they want to do next week?
Whose rant is it going to be? Could it
Who?
be Turner's?
Who?
I have one ready. Turner might have one ready.
I don't think he has one ready.
So I guess we'll do mine. I'll just say...
it's going to be dickish?
Rene Dupree package-ish?
Yes, Rene Dupree. Also in top 5 ring boners next week.
Rene Dupree's is 1 through 5. Yes, we watched A lot of
04
SmackDown. Why is my phone being a jobber?
Yeah, we're editing you out.
Yeah, cut that.
We'll do another probably top 5 next week. We're gonna probably have Nate's rant, and we'll get into some other stuff. We have some other recurring segments we want to do. I want to leave it on this final note. Rest in peace, Ravishing Rick Rude. Rest in peace, Ninth Wonder of the World, China. I mean, 2 legitimate Hall of Famers did so much for this business.
Half of the original DX.
Yeah. Right.
All right, folks. Listen to us next week on the 5 Wise Marks podcast. We'll be back on a regular schedule, so check us out probably Wednesday or Thursday.
See ya.
Peace out.
Don't treat me like a woman. Don't treat me like a man. Don't treat me like you know me. Treat me for just who I am.